This is Mansi Shah, Assistant Professor in the Department of Pharmacology from LJ Institute of Pharmacy. So today's my discussion topic is on sulfonamides and co-trimoxazole. So in this lecture, I will be discussing regarding mechanism of action, adverse effects, uses, antibacterial spectrum of both sulfonamides and co-trimoxazole. So starting with the first slide, mechanism of action. As you all know, that folic acid is important for the growth of bacteria, which growth means it requires nucleic acid synthesis, right? So nucleic acid synthesis is being done from folic acid. Now, sulfonamides, how they act? So they are structural analogues of PABA, that is para-aminobenzoic acid. Sulfonamides, they enter and block the enzyme dihydroteroic acid synthase, right? That is folic acid synthase, which is important for bacterial growth. This enzyme is important for bacteria to growth, right? This is converted into dihydroteroic acid, then dihydrofolic acid, and then into tetrahydrofolic acid, which is important for DNA, RNA, and protein synthesis in bacteria. So sulfonamides, they initially only block dihydroteroic acid synthase, that is folic acid synthase enzyme, which means as it is analog of PABA, it enters into the bacterial strain and block the synthesis of folic acid. So the bacterial growth ceases, and this is a way that sulfonamide is bacteriostatic in action. Next is the classification of sulfonamides. So first classification is according to duration of action. So first is orally absorbable. In that first, that is short acting. In that examples are sulfadiazine, sulfacytine, sulfamethoxazole, sulfoxazole, right? Then second is intermediate acting, that is sulfamethoxazole and sulfamoxazole. Then next is long acting. In that sulfadoxine and sulfamethopyrazine. Next is orally non-absorbable. In that sulfasalazine, olsalazine, then balsalazine, and the next is topical agents. In that silver sulfadiazine, then mefenamide, sulfacetamide, sodium. The next classification is according to the use. So for respiratory tract infections, the first agent that is used is co-trimoxazole and sulfafenazine. Then for leprosy, that is solapsone and dapsone. Then drugs for bowel disinfection, that is sulfasalazine and phenyl sulfathiazole. Then for malaria, sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine. Then for nocardiosis, that is sulfadiazine and sulfoxazole. Then topically applied sulfonamides. In that for eye infection, sulfacetamide is used. For skin infection, sulfadiazine and mefenide is used. For GIT infections, succinyl sulfathiazole and phenyl sulfathiazole, then sulfaguanidine. Then for meningitis, sulfadiazine and sulfamidine is used. Then for UTI infections, sulfoxazole and sulfamethoxazole. The next is pharmacokinetics. For pharmacokinetics, as you all know, that the basic is ADME, that is absorption, distribution, metabolism and excretion. So in that first absorption, that is all sulfonamides, they are rapidly and well absorbed orally. Then D, that is distribution. So it is widely distributed in the body. It crosses blood-brain barrier and placenta. It accumulates in prostatic fluid, and extent of plasma binding differs. That is longer acting agents, they are highly protein bound. The next is metabolism. That is metabolism occurs in liver through acetylation, right? The next is excretion. Excretion occurs through kidney, that is by glomerular filtration. The next is antibacterial spectrum, that is in the sulfonamides which are used against which organisms. So first, that is sensitive organisms, they are H. pyrogens, H. influenza, H. ducreyi, then cholera, nocardia, toxoplasma, and many others, right? Then there are the resistant organisms which have resistance towards sulfonamides. They are gonococci, staphylococci, meningococci, streptococci, E. coli and Shigella. Now this you have to remember, resistant organisms, which will be useful for you in future when you will be learning co-trimoxazole. Now again, the mechanism of resistance for sulfonamides, that can be due to many reasons. The first reason is due to mutations, which is causing overproduction of PABA, that is para-aminobenzoic acid. The second, that is altered nature of dihydrotyronic acid synthase, or there is a possibility that there is loss of permeability of sulfonamides through bacterial membrane. And the next is appearance of an alternative pathway. The uses of sulfonamides, that is orally absorbable drugs, they are used in acute uncomplicated UTI, that is urinary tract infections, right? Then it is a choice of drug in nocardiosis, then cancroid, then lymphogranuloma. Then orally non-absorbable drugs, that is sulfasalazine. It is widely used in ulcerative colitis and rheumatoid arthritis. Next is topical agents. Topical agents, in that sulfacetamide, that is an optical solution or ointment. Then it is also used in bacterial conjunctivitis and trachoma. The next is silver sulfadiazine. Right? It is less toxic preferred to as compared to mefenide, as silver ions, with silver sulfadiazide, it releases silver ions slowly, which has antimicrobial action. It is also active against Pseudomonas bacteria. The adverse effect, the first basic adverse effect of sulfonamide is that crystalluria or renal toxicity, right? So how this occurs? So first is acetylated metabolites. As I've told that it occurs, the acetylation of sulfonamide occurs in liver. So this acetylate metabolites, they are less soluble in acidic urine, and this precipitates in the kidney and renal tubules, which causes crystalluria and renal obstruction. So the cure for this is that one should take plenty of fluids and alkalizing urine. The next side effect or adverse effect is hypersensitivity reactions. It is rashes, especially mucocutaneous junctions, right? Then Stevens-Johnson syndrome occurs, right? Then drug fever, exfoliative dermatitis, all these are hypersensitivity reactions. I have shown in the figure, so it will be very clear for you to understand. The next is hemolysis. Hemolysis occurs in patients with G6PD deficiency, right? And neutropenia, agranulocytosis and thrombocytopenia can also occur. The next is kernicterus. This is a very important side effect which is observed in neonates especially. Why? Because sulfonamide, it displaces bilirubin from protein binding site, and this bilirubin passes through blood-brain barrier, which is being deposited in the basal ganglia and subthalamic nuclei in premature infants, right? And that is why they develop a disease called as kernicterus. Okay, the next, this is a basic side effect, that is nausea, vomiting, epigastric pain and hepatitis. Now the next topic is cotrimoxazole. Cotrimoxazole, it is basically a fixed dose combination of two drugs. First, that is sulfamethoxazole, and second, that is trimethoprim. Now the rationale for using these two drugs in a combination is that these both drugs have similar half-life, that is about 10 hours. Then these two drugs are bacteriostatic in nature, but when these are combined, it produces bactericidal effect, right? The combination has a wider antibacterial spectrum. Then the combination delays the development of bacterial resistance also, and minimum inhibitory concentration of each component can be reduced to 3 to 6 times. Right? Trimethoprim enters many tissues and has a larger volume of distribution. So this is the basic rationale for using these two drugs in combination. The next is cotrimoxazole mechanism. Now, as I've told that cotrimoxazole is a combination of two drugs, that is sulfamethoxazole and trimethoprim. Now sulfonamides, which is sulfamethoxazole, which is a class of sulfonamides. So this sulfonamides, what is the mechanism of action? So they enter into the dihydrotyronic acid synthase, right? They blocks or inhibits this enzyme folic acid synthase, dihydrotyronic acid synthase, and which stops the synthesis of dihydrofolic acid. Now trimethoprim, what it does, so it blocks the enzyme dihydrofolic reductase, which is important for the conversion of dihydrofolic acid into tetrahydrofolic acid, right? Which then converts into RNA, DNA and protein for bacterial synthesis. So this dihydrofolic acid uh, conversion to tetrahydrofolic acid is being inhibited by trimethoprim. So sulfomethoxazole, it inhibits the conversion of dihydroteroic acid into dihydrofolic acid, right? And trimethoprim, it inhibits the conversion of dihydrofolic acid into tetrahydrofolic acid. This is how it acts, and it causes bactericidal effect. The next is antibacterial spectrum of cotrimoxazole. All these organisms which are sensitive for sulfonamides, right? They are widely, they have covered up with the combination of cotrimoxazole. Then additional organisms which is being covered are S. typhi, Klebsiella, P. geroici, then sulfonamide resistant strains. And the mechanism of resistance, here also sometimes resistance occurs. It is mainly through plasmid mediated acquisition, right? Or resistance to combination is slow to develop. Now uses, it is used in lower urinary tract infections, uncomplicated infections. It is used in cystitis, chronic and recurrent UTI, right? Then it is used in respiratory tract infections, both lower and upper respiratory tract infections, right? Then it is used in typhoid, bacterial diarrheas, then pneumocystis jirovecii. This is used, means this occurs in pneumonia condition in AIDS patient, right? Then next is cancroid. Then the adverse effects of cotrimoxazole, that is basic adverse effects of sulfonamides and cotrimoxazole is same: nausea, vomiting, stomatitis, epigastric pain, rash, that is hypersensitivity reactions, right? Then next is folate deficiency, right? So megaloblastic anemia can occur, then blood dyschariasis. Then in pregnancy, it has adverse effect because it is teratogenic in nature, right? It can cause neonatal hemolysis and methemoglobinemia. Then in patients with renal disease, it develops uremia. Then in elder patients, it has a risk of bone marrow depression. Then if it is used with diuretics, then there are chances of occurring thrombocytopenia, right? And in AIDS patient, it causes bone marrow hypoplasia, right? AIDS patient with pneumocystis jirovecii infection. Okay, thank you.